In this class, we will learn how we can set up an exterior light scene. And as you know, we have learned different basic light setup in our last lesson, also some studio light setup. So I have created this scene landscape project, and we did a landscape project in our last class. So in this class, we will use that same landscape scene, and we will create the exterior light setup in this scene. So if we'll go in our content drawer and the landscape folder, and you will see here there are two files, landscape HN and landscape normal one. So this landscape HM, I will open it up, and you will see that this scene is the one that we created in our one of the first lesson where we learned about the kit bashing. So I have placed this, if you remember, the tree and this foliage. The landscape level, the one which is this one, we also did this, but we will not use the landscape level. We will use the landscape HM, and this is already uploaded. You can find the link in the description below. What only I did in this lesson is that apart from the tree and the rocks and everything, I have placed a cottage, like a small hut at the back. So if you will see, here is the cottage. Maybe because of the fog, you might not be able to see that. So let me do one thing. I will go to the lit option and unlit the scene so that you can see. Now here you can see it is at the back. Okay. So hopefully you can see that scene over there. And let's go back to the lit mode. Okay. Now you can see there are these lights: directional light, exponential light, sky atmosphere, skylight, and volumetric. All these lights are already created. So what we will do is that we will delete these. Okay. The reason I deleted them is that we will create our own lights from the scratch. Okay. Right from the beginning, we will do that. Don't worry if you can see the tree is lit up. This is maybe a bug or something. Usually you don't see anything. Everything is kind of like dark, but I'm not sure why it is showing, but don't worry about that. Usually it do. Now let's go to the window, and inside the window, you will see there is environmental light mixer. You can create the lights from the place actor, from the light menus from here, but you have to create them one by one. You have to drag them one by one in the scene, which is little annoying, but you can go to the window, then environmental light mixer. And this is a really good way of creating lights. It gives you skylight, atmospheric light, sky atmosphere, volumetric cloud, height fog, all in one location. And when you use this option, you can easily create light one by one. You just have to press one by one each light, just like what I'm doing right now. And you can create a whole scene by just pressing all these. And when you will notice that as I'm clicking on lights, they are being added below, and they are removed from this top menu. Okay, so I have added all of them, and now they are added in the bottom and removed from the top menu. Now I have all the lights as we had them before, but they are all untouched, means like they are having all the default values. There are no values, custom values. There are no custom values here. Now you will see that the sun is at the back. That's why I have shadows in front. So just keep that in mind so that you know that there is a sun there whose direction is behind the scene. That's why we have shadows in front. So here is my here are my lights. What I will do is that I will select all these lights option here and drag them in the lights folder to better organize them. Okay, now they are added there. So what I will do is that this is the directional light, which is the sun back actually. Now I have here the directional light component and also the directional light. instance. Usually we work on the directional light instance, not on the component that much. Here I have location, rotation, scale. Basically, location and scale do not affect the sunlight, basically. Only rotation does. So if I reset the default rotation here, you can see the sunlight will affect. Now you can see the sun light is a little bit affected and the scene is bit off. Okay, so I will undo it. So so I can go back now in the location in the movement. You can see my local like rotation is like movement is on. I will turn on my world gizmo like coordinates, okay, so that I can easily control them. But if I will relocate it, like if I will move it around, you will notice that the light will not do any kind of changes here. So if you can see, I'm moving it around, but there are no changes here. Similarly, if I will take my scale will also not change anything here. Okay. So also with the like scale doesn't affect the sunlight. Okay. So whatever changes you will do here, it won't change. So I will reset whatever it was before. Okay. Now, what effect is the rotation? So if I will go to the rotation, and already it's on the world gizmo, it's not on the local gizmo. So I can rotate it. And if I will rotate the directional light, you can see the sun is moving and it is affecting the shadow. I can move it around in 360 degrees, okay, around. And also I can move the sun up or down. Let me reset this. And if I will move the sun up or down, you can see that it is giving me that a sunrise or sunset effect. So this is how easily the sun can affect your scene, okay, by simple rotation. Okay, but this method I usually don't use like to rotate. The method I like is by pressing Control and L on your keyboard if you're using a PC, and then simple move the mouse. Or if you're using Mac, then you can press Command or L on your keyboard and simple move the mouse without pressing any button, and you will see that the sun will start moving. This is much more easier way to control your sun. And you can see this arrow which is moving around. This is the sun direction. It's giving a really nice sun direction. Okay. So if you are satisfied, you can just stop there. Don't move the mouse. Stop moving the mouse and lift your fingers from the Control L or Command L. So this is how you will get the result. So let's see which, I think this kind of looks good. Okay. So I will leave it here, and maybe later on we can also change some like settings here. Now let's see what do we have in the directional light. We have the intensity. We can reduce it or increase it. Okay. So, but we will keep it as it is, like 10. Okay. Then we have the light color. Right now it's white. Usually we keep it white and we change the scene with other colors, because changing the sun color will give you very unrealistic result here, just like you can see on the screen right now I have. Okay. And then let's go down here, and you will see there is source angle. Now look at the shadows. They are kind of sharp. Source angle, if you increase, it makes your shadow softer. So if I increase it, you can see the shadow is becoming softer. Let me increase a lot, like 500. You can see the result. It's too soft. 100 less softer. Okay. 25 little bit more less softer. Okay. But as it is an outdoor scene, the sun is behind, so maybe you can keep it around 1, which is fine. Okay. And then we have here source angle, which makes your your source more softer, basically. Now from temperature, you can control how the scene should be. warmer or brighter. Instead of changing the light of the sun, the light color of the sun, you can control the temperature here. Okay. And then here we have affect world. You can turn it off. It will not affect anything. If you will turn it on, it will affect everything. So you can see everything is affected by the effect. Now cast and shadow, you can turn it on and off. These are to check if you have other lights as well in the scene to see how it is done. Now indirect light intensity is basically the bounce light, like we learned this in our studio light like setup class. So this is like indirect light, when your light is bouncing on surfaces and striking on the other like surfaces. So that's what it is. Usually for interior scene, it is good. Now volumetric scattering intensity is to control the volumetric scattering. We will come back to it later. Let's go down and see what do we have here. Okay. So we have here in the rendering option, we have here use attach parent bound. Basically, if you want to attach anything like a camera to it, but usually we don't do that. Light shafts we use to create God rays. We will come back to it when we will learn how we can create those rays, the God rays, if you have seen like different pictures and all, like more like different landscape scenes. For that you can use this. This is the cascade shadow maps to control the shadows. We don't usually change any one of these. Now distance field shadows, make sure this is on, because otherwise your shadow will go till the infinity. In reality, there is a limitation to the shadow. So that's why that is controlled by the distance field shadows. And the value of it is right now 51200. So we keep it as it is. We don't change that, but usually turn it on. This is to control the cloud, more like lights and stuff. So right now it is off. So if you want more like cloudy day, if you have, you can turn this on right after that, like for that. But our scene is not too cloudy, so we don't want this to be turned on. So you can turn it off. But imagine if you have a very cloudy scene and you want to show that there is a raining going on, there is a cloud there, not enough sunlight, so you can like turn it on. But at this stage, we are not doing any cloudy scene, so we will not turn it on. We will turn it off. Let's go down and see what we have here. So these are more like distances. We don't usually change. Most of them, like below here, we don't change, and we keep it as it is. So we will like keep it as it is. We will not change this. Okay, everything else we will keep it there. Okay, so I think rest everything is fine. And yeah, we don't have to change this one as well. Okay, so I hope the directional light is clear to you. It's basically that is your sun. Okay, now what you can do is that you can turn on the ray tracing on your directional light on your sun. So there are different ways to do that. The first method to do is to go type here ray. Your cast ray trace shadows will be turned on, which is by default using project settings. Now our project setting is not set up as ray tracing, so it is regular. So it is not using ray tracing anymore, or like it's not using ray tracing at all. So simple, what you can do, if you want to turn on the ray tracing, you can just go here in this cast ray trace shadows option, and you can simply you can simply enable it from here. Okay, so it's basically for the shadows only. So I will go here and enabled it, and you can see the shadow has become a more softer, more realistic than before. If I will turn this off again by disabling it, will be gone. Now I will other method is to turn on the use project settings. Go to the edit option, project settings, and in the search I will type here ray. Okay, so ray trace will be turned on. In the hardware ray tracing, I have ray trace shadows. I will turn this on. Ray trace skylight, I will turn this on. Rest are optional, like texture, LOD, you want the level of detail. If you want, you can turn it on. Otherwise, you don't need. Use hardware tracing shadows or ray trace lighting mode. You can make it, maybe hit lighting for reflection. Okay. And like these things are optional. Only that you have to turn on is the ray trace shadows and ray trace skylight. Others, if you want, if you have a good computer, you can turn them on also, because they require like good memory consumption. Now below here you will see there is modeling tools. Under that you have enable ray tracing while editing. You can turn this on also, but keep in mind it will be a little expensive because it will use a good amount of memory. Okay, and you should have a good GPU, as well as with a good VRAM. So now, one more thing you can turn on here is the lumen global illumination. By default, it is already turned on, but if it is not, you can type lumen there. Go to the dynamic global illumination method. Make sure this is lumen. So it should be lumen. That means it is already on. So it should be lumen. Reflection method have to be lumen. Okay. And if you want, you can turn on the high quality translucency reflections if you want. Otherwise, you don't need it. This will give you nice reflections. Okay, now I can restart this. Now save selected. Okay, now it's restarting my project and done. I will go back to my content drawer. I will go back to my landscape HM, turn it on, like open it up so that it loads. Okay, now done. And now what I can do here is that I can go here and make sure in the ray tracing it is using project settings. Now, because our project is set up to ray tracing, so it is on with this option right now. So you can see the softer shadows, especially if you will look at the flowers. Just see how softer the shadows are and how nice the shadows looks. And as well, you can see everywhere else, you can see the shadows are nice. But if you will see, this rock is a high quality nanite rock, and you will see the shadow here are bit ugly using the ray tracing. If you don't use ray tracing, you will not get these shadows. But we use ray tracing for nice shadows, but why do we have these really bad shadows showing up here? Now, the reason is that because nanites are, part of the nanites are like casting one-sided shadows, and part of the nanites are causing direct shadows. That's why we have this low quality like shadow effect here. Now, to fix this, we have an expression, and I will write the expression in the description below also, so you can use that directly. What do we only have to do is that we have to go to our output log, or if you will see that we have here the command, we can write up there. Okay, and then I will copy paste that, like you can say the expression here. So we will remove these kind of jittering sort of ugly shadow. Okay, so I will just type it here, or I can simply let me show you first what do we have as a command. So here you can type it. Okay, so here in the notepad you will see I have written the expression here, r.raytracing.shadows.enable two-sided geometry. Because nanites are creating these issues, the reason is that because part of them are one-sided shadows. So I want all the parts of the nanites to be two-sided shadows. It will be expensive. It will require a lot of memory, but as we are not making a game, we are animating, so that will be fine. So I will just paste it here. And 0 here, if you will see, means to turn on this two-sided shadows. Now you can see that ugly effect that I was getting is now is not there anymore. Okay. So other way is to remove that effect is to more like don't use the ray tracing at all. But if you will stop using the ray tracing, you will get the ugly shadows. Like not ugly means like you will get a very low quality shadow. So we use ray tracing for the shadows so that we can get a really nice quality shadows. But if we will turn this off, we will lose those details. Okay. So you can see that this is how with the ray tracing the shadows look like, especially look at the flowers. Okay. Now, if I will more like remove the ray tracing by disabling the option here, I will not get this high quality result. Now, let's do that. Let's more like remove the ray tracing from here just to see how it looks like. Okay. So let's do that here. Let me move this around just to show you. Now you will see, you will notice that in the scene, whenever I'm moving my camera towards the sun, the light automatically changes. Its brightness changes. Sometimes it becomes dark, sometimes it becomes bright. That is because our light setup is acting as it is using a auto light setup. Now, to avoid that, let's go to the visual effects option in place actors. Take the post process volume here. Just like what we did in the last lesson, we will change this to infinite so that it will affect the whole thing. And we will use manual light. Let's move it to the lights folder. And here in the settings, I will type, in the search, I will type infinite and turn this on. So it will affect the whole scene. Otherwise, it will only affect the scene which is inside the box, inside the volume. So I will change it to infinite. So it will affect the whole scene. And then I will go to the exposure option. Now, this is what we did in our last lessons also in details. Okay, so I will go in the exposure, turn on the manual. Exposure compensation, I can use different values here just to see. Let's see, 5 is dark. Let's check 10. 10 is fine, but it's a little dark as well. Let's make it, let's try a 12. 12 is a little bit more darker. 11. Okay, I think 11 is fine. So I will keep this 11. So now, wherever my camera will go, I will not have any sort of automatic, you can say, exposure. So let me close all these. Okay. And so that we can later on work on it. Okay. So post-process volume, we learned in detail in our last studio or light setup. If you have not watched that video, please go to the playlist and watch that video because it was really interesting video. And we learned more about, we learned a lot about the post-process volume in that lesson. Okay, so let's see exponential fog. Now, if you will see, exponential fog is what? It is creating a fog. Exponential fog, by it, just like its name, it creates a really nice fog effect. Just like if you will see in this picture, at the back, you will see the scene is look very saturated, very faded because there is a fog. So in reality, whatever you see far away looks very faded. That is because of the fog. There is always a little fog available in the atmosphere. So here as well, you can see that effect. So similar effect we can create using the exponential height fog. Okay, exponential height fog. Now let's see how we can control this exponential height fog. It works with the conjunction of directional light. So we will come back to the directional light later, but right now let's work on the exponential fog. Now let's see what are the important stuff. First of all, we have to turn it on. So turn it on. To turn it on, let's write volumetric fog in the search, and then you will see volumetric fog. This is the important thing. You have to turn it on. Right now it is turned off. It is disabled. We have to turn it on, and as soon we will turn it on, you will see a drastic major change. Everything becomes foggy. Now don't worry about this because we are going to change this. So at this stage, we have a lot of fog and we can easily change this fog um, like quantity, or you can say scale. Okay, so we will go, I will remove that from the search, and I will go to the exponential height fog component. Here you have fog density and fog height fall. So I will increase or decrease it from the fog density. So it's up to you how much you want it. Okay, and this is the height fall off. So basically, if I increase or decrease, you can see it is moving away from the horizon, or it is moving towards the horizon. It's overlapping the horizon or moving away from the horizon. So that's what you can do with this height fall. Okay, so let's keep it 0.3. Okay, and we will use the density a little bit lower, maybe 0. No, it's too high still. 0.001, or maybe lesser than that, 0.0005. Okay, this is fine. Okay, now these are the important settings here. Rest, it's up to you if you want to change them, like the colors and everything. Usually I don't change the other stuff here, otherwise it will start looking unrealistic. As you can see on the screen, it looks very greenish. So we usually don't change all the other like more like setup. Okay, maybe if you're using a different planet, okay, so maybe you can do that. But you can see most of the changes are not giving you a quite a result here. So these are the changes which I just like told you that you can like change it here. Okay, so volumetric fog you can turn on by from here, and next here we have scattering distribution. Okay, here you can see I have a sun. Okay, and here is my tree. Now let's see what is the scattering distribution here. I will try to put my sun somewhere next to the tree, so I can clearly show you what the scattering distribution do. Okay, now turning on and off, you can see what it do. Now scattering distribution, if I reduce it, you can see the light goes around everywhere, like it's more like distributes evenly. But if I increase it, you can see the fog moves towards the sun. So the lower value distributes in the environment, okay, whereas the higher value, which is 0.9, moves the fog next to the sun. Okay, so let's check again. So like scattering distribution, if I increase it, so you will notice that the uh, the volume fog moves more towards the sun. Now you can see it is more moved toward the sun. Okay, and if I decrease it, it distributes around the environment. So it's totally up to you if you want the result to be. If you want the scene to be more foggy, you can reduce the value. But if you want the scene to have very dramatic cinematic feeling like God rays, so maybe you can increase it so it moves towards the sun. So it's totally up to you how to do that. Let's see one more thing. Now, to control that, as I said, we have to go to the directional light. And as it works with the directional light, we can go to the directional light. Volumetric scattering intensity, we can increase and decrease. And you can see how the volumetric fog is, exponential fog is increasing, decreasing. So these two things works together, exponential fog and the ray tracing. But if I disable the ray tracing, you will see that I will not have a good result. You can see how the flowers looks like. Okay, now if I will move back to ray tracing, you can see the volume is, the fog is also affecting the flowers. So disabling will not affect flowers and small items. It will look unrealistic, but enabling the ray tracing will create a really nice, realistic result affecting the flowers and every other stuff also. Okay. So let's go back to exponential fog here, and let's do some of the changes here. Okay. So I hope these important parts are clear. Now let's see in the exponential fog. we can increase this to 0.9 so that all the lights goes to the sun. So we can create a nice sort of a God rays effect here. Okay. So 0.9, we are done with this. Okay. And then what I can do here is that let's go back to, I think let's go back to the sun, like directional light here. Okay. And then volumetric scattering intensity, I can increase it. Okay. Not too much, maybe this much. And then let's set up a scene where the sun is behind the tree. Now, if you remember in the beginning, I told you about the bloom shaft and those things. Let's see what it do. Let's set up this volumetric scattering intensity. I think for now it is fine. Okay. So let's try higher value. Let's see. 2 is fine. Okay. Now I will go down here where I have this light shafts. So I will turn on the light shafts and you can see suddenly it start creating these dramatic cinematic sort of God rays coming out of the tree. I can more increase it or decrease it with these values. Okay. This is the occlusion mass darkness. This is the depth range. Okay. Now to make it more higher, I can turn on the shafts. So it will create more shafts. I can increase the scale of the shafts. Okay, I will get this more effect. I can increase the threshold of it. I can use I can control its brightness. Okay. And I can also, in the bloom tint, I can change the color of that, but I will keep it as it is. Okay. The direction, I can also change it with the advanced option, but I will keep it as it is. I like the direction as I have it here. Okay, usually these are the stuff that you can change from here. Okay, so it's all about trial and error. Just see whatever suits your scene, whatever looks good, you can use that here. Now in the volumetric light scattering, I can more increase it to push the scene a little bit more. Okay, and let's set up the scene. Let's see how it looks like with this. And you can see a really nice volumetric, the God rays created with this exponential height fog is appearing. Okay, let's see how it looks like from here. I think we have to change the scene a bit so that it will look more like kind of a interesting, more cinematic, more dramatic here. Okay, but for now I will not use any built-in camera right now because I'm inside the camera. So don't worry about that. I will move out of the camera. Okay, so later once we are at by the end of this lesson, we will use a different camera setup here. Maybe we will make our own camera setup. Okay, so let's make a scene, nice looking scene here. Let's find a good angle, something like this. Okay, where we can see more God rays coming up. So let's move around. And now here I can go to this menu, then create camera here and Cine camera actor. And what it will do, it will take the scene and convert that scene into a camera scene. And it will create a new camera, Cine camera actor 1, which I can switch to wherever I want. But for now, I will not switch to it. Okay. Let's do some changes and then I will switch to the camera. So let's set up the scene. Let's bring this cottage a little bit next to the camera. Okay. And let's bring the other stuff in also so that they can show. Okay. Now, actually, if you remember, we placed these blocks. Can you see these white blocks inside, inside this rock? Because this was one-sided shadow. So, and when we were doing kit bashing to avoid that shadow leak, we use this. But if you remember, we have turned on the force two-sided shadow just from the notepad, if you remember. So we don't need these. You can use, you can keep it or you can delete it now, because we have already turned on our two-sided shadows for the ray tracing, for the nanites, like just in this lesson. So if you want, you can delete these blocks or you can keep them. It's totally up to you. So if you find it annoying, you can remove them or you can keep it. Now let's see if they are moved in. So I think I have to move them a bit more. Okay, somewhere here. And this one also closer. At the end of this lesson, I will change the like the lens of the camera so that we can have more nicer scene. Let's see how it looks like now. Okay, quite good. But these white blocks are too annoying. I think I should like delete it, because now that there is no use, because already we have turned it on, our block, two-sided shadows. So we don't need these blocks. So let's delete all the other blocks as well, because we don't need them. If your two-sided shadow lights are not on, then you can use it, just like what we did in the last class. But as you know, we have removed it, so we don't need it. So let's do a nice setup here. Let's bring this to small tree. So it's all, you have to keep on checking how the stuff looks like. So this is till now it looks like this. Let's see how it looks afterwards. Okay. Now if I will go back to my camera, then 30 millimeter lens, it's fine. But for now, I will not use this one. I will keep it 12 millimeter. Okay. At the end, we will use this one. So let's go back here to change this to 12. Okay. So we can have a bit wide angle. Once everything is set up, then we can change that. Because with the wide angle, you will not get good depth of field. At least you should have 30 mm lens. Then you can have a good depth of field. But for now, I think it's fine. So let's close these. Okay. Now in the post-process volume, let's see what else we can check. But before doing that, let's go to the sky atmosphere and let me show you what it is. Now, sky atmosphere creates an atmospheric effect around your Earth, you can say, around your planet. So here you can see planet at top absolute, it creates this result, and center creates this result. So I will use the top, and usually sky atmosphere, I don't do a lot of changes here. Only if I want to change something like the color of the atmosphere. Suppose if I'm in Mars, so maybe I can change this blue to red, okay, or and change the like the scattering like relay here, and you can see how if I increase, the blue is reduced. If I decrease, the blue is increases. It's like opposite here, the relay scattering scale. So keep it blue, keep it lower, so you will have the bluish sky feeling. Okay, and this is basically the fade of the sky, the exponential distribution. So not that much like changes we do in the sky atmosphere, but yeah, if you want to create something like a alienistic or different planet kind of feeling, like you're not on Earth, you're on different planet, then you can change these. But actually, whatever like settings are there are the already set up good change like settings. So I will keep it as it is. And you can see if I'm changing the lights, like hitting that, which are hitting on the like buildings and everything are changing as well. So that's why I will not change it a lot. I will keep it as it is. Let's go down here. And you can see that atmosphere absorption is set up to green because it's like a tint. So green is actual default color. If I will change it, it will create a like a unrealistic result. And you can see that if I increase or decrease, it changes the tint of the scene. Okay, so this is like these are the default values you should keep. Don't change it in case if you want to create an like a alienistic result or something like that. Now I will go to the skylight. Skylight is basically your you can say environmental light, just like HDRI light that we used in our last lesson. A skylight all is more also like an HDRI, but it let's go to the light option of the HDRI and turn on the real time capture. So real time capture, as you can see, I turned it on. It will give me a nice result. Now here, I can also load an HDRI inside the skylight. Because if you will not load HDRI, the skylight will use the existing directional light, exponential height fog, sky atmosphere, volumetric cloud, and it will derive the skylight, the surrounding light, the environmental light from these lights. Okay. So what it is, it's basically like an HDRI that are using your existing light to create an environmental light setup. So this is how it looks like without and with. Okay. So you can use your own cubic scene here, and you can also increase or decrease the scale of it. But usually we keep it as one, we don't change. And the color, we also don't change it. So this is how it will look like. Okay. So here at this cube map, you can use your own HDRI if you have it, and it will create a very nice, more like setup here. And yeah. Now, volumetric cloud, let's see what is volumetric cloud. Now, let's turn off the height and post-process volume, sky, atmosphere, so you can see the clouds clearly. Now, volumetric clouds is all about the clouds that are created here. These are the virtual clouds. You can increase or decrease their altitude. Okay. You can use the bottom altitude and height altitude from here. You can move them around. They are made in layers, so you will have this like sort of an effect there. Okay. And then you can see the max like distance, what it is like affecting there. Usually I don't change these, I keep it as it is. I'm just showing you around how it will affect. Then here is your planet radius. How big is your planet, like Earth? How big is your Earth? Depending on that, it will create the like clouds. Okay. Now, cloud tracing, you don't have to turn them on. They are by default on. But if you want to override the settings, you can turn it on, and you can override the settings. Otherwise, there is no need. So I don't use this a lot, this part, because I'm always satisfied with whatever I have. But if you want to customize it, then you can turn it on so that you can easily override the settings that you have, the existing one. So you can hide the clouds, you can unhide the clouds. Actor, you can hide it in the game or outside the game. That is also you can do, especially when you are animating. So these are a few settings in the volumetric cloud. So let's turn on back our other lights here. Okay. Now, in the directional lights, what we can do here is that we can do some volumetric scattering intensity a little bit. I will change this one. Let's see what looks better. Okay, this is fine. Now, I will do some changes here in the post-process volume, some color grading and stuff. And also I will change, as I said, in the camera. And this is how it looks like after the changes. So I change the camera lens, okay, to 30 mm. Like I said, I will do it at the end. And I have used so that it can make the foreground a little bit blurry, okay, more depth of field. And apart from this, I have a light. I have moved a slight behind the tree and towards the left side a little bit so that it can create this sort of a light. And what I else did here is that some color grading here. And just like what we did in our last lesson, so you can check these midtones, highlights, shadows by your own and see what like suits like for you best. So I did these more like changes here. You can see what I did. So it's totally up to you how you want to set it up. So like global settings, you can like change this as well. Okay. So it's like all about the trial and error. Just see how the scene looks really nice. Okay. Use that setting. And then what else I did is the film, so that I can get a nice faded look. Otherwise, it will create a very high contrasted look and it will not look realistic. So I have used this film option here to make my scene a little bit more like faded, like a faded film. Okay. Now, all these global illuminations are by default on. You don't have to turn them on. I turned them on only so that I can override the existing values. So the lighting quality was 1, I made it 2. The final gathering quality was 1, I made it 2. So if you want to override any settings, then you have to turn it on. Otherwise, it is by default on. You don't have to turn on the lumen or others more like lumen settings. By default, they are on. But in case if they are on and you want to make sure they are on, then you can do that. Okay. Only Raytrace shadows, you have to turn it, or you have to enable it, or from the project settings, you can do that. Now, chromatic aberration. Let's go to the chromatic aberration and see what kind of effect it gives you. It gives you a kind of imperfection of the lens effect. Okay. So I don't increase it a lot, otherwise it will create a very unrealistic result. So I will keep the intensity 1, offset 0.5. So without, it looks very, you can say mechanical. Okay. And if you apply it, you will get some blurry, some non-blurry feeling there. Okay. Mix and match of the blurriness, and it will give you a nice output result with this, because nothing in world is perfect. So you need a bit imperfection. Okay, so a bit of an imperfection you need over there. So I hope everything is clear and you have learned how to set up an exterior light scene.
If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do it now and don't forget to hit the bell icon. By the way, I have noticed that many of you are watching my videos without subscribing. So let's change that. Subscribe to my channel and be the part of the interactive community. Now, here's something really important I want to talk about. Please do not download my videos. Just watch them online. When you download them, it messes up my watch time hours. And that's a bummer. I want to keep creating awesome videos, but it's demotivating when I lose out on those stats. Thanks a bunch for your support. You guys rock. Catch you all in the next video.